Before I dive in, I just want to say, hot damn, everybody looks amazing tonight. Let's give it up for you guys. Now, I am sure you may not recognize me with clothes on. And that is because the last time I was on this stage was 4 years ago. And yep, that was me. I wasn't wearing any clothes. So quite a difference. So when I was asked to speak tonight, my first question was, do I get to wear clothes this time? Thankfully, they said yes. But also, it's kind of not fair because the advice I was given was to picture you in your underwear. And all I can think about is that night, me dancing through this ballroom in my undies. I thought, they've already seen you pretty much naked. How hard can this speech be? Except now, you'll get to see me emotionally naked. And somehow that seems scarier. But really, it's an honor to have been asked to be here with you tonight. I promise you I'll try not to get too heavy or go too dark. But if I do, I've been practicing an interpretive dance to throw in at the end. So we'll see how much time we have. Okay, let's jump right in. 11 years ago, my life changed. I was 31 years old, sitting at work when I got that phone call that would divide my life into two versions of myself, before cancer and after. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you already know that every year on my cancerversary, I sit down and I try to put down into words what surviving cancer has taught me. Each year, I take the time to start from year one and reread each post before compiling my thoughts for the current year. In those early years, I wrote about fear. Most years, I wrote about survival and purpose. In my recent years, I recognized my emotional growth, and what I came to realize was the greatest lesson wasn't really about cancer at all. It was about our life, our journey, love, connection, and community. About what happens when human beings decide not to let each other walk alone. And tonight, standing here at Pink Warrior Advocates' 10-year Anniversary Gala, I realized something beautiful. One of the worst moments of my life eventually led me to some of the most meaningful connections, people, purpose, and love I've ever known. So I'm going to take you on a journey back to where my story started. And every cancer story is different. Every diagnosis changes a life in its own unique way. And every path reveals a different story. And while unique, my diagnosis story, unfortunately, is echoed throughout our sisterhood. In June of 2014, I found a lump. And I was told I was too young to have anything to worry about. I remember that first doctor telling me that it was just a cyst and to come back in 6 months. Thankfully, in my gut, something didn't feel right. And I talked to my mom, and she urged me to seek a second opinion. It took 4 months of me pushing and advocating for myself that got me to that day on October 2nd that I received that call. I remember the conversation with the doctor and him telling me, "Stacy, I gathered you're a straight shooter, so I'm just going to tell you it's cancer." Then a few weeks later, I found out that it was stage 3. And had I waited 6 months, the possibility of me standing here before you doesn't seem likely. It was the beginning of October, and all of a sudden, I just see pink everywhere. Hearing those words changed my orbit. And if you ever had to experience a trauma where your world shifts, you notice something. The world didn't stop, around us didn't stop. Cars kept driving, people kept talking, birds kept singing, and like clockwork, the sun still set that evening. But inside me, everything had changed. Like many of my breasties will tell you, we enter warrior mode. My calendar stopped looking like a social 31-year-old woman and started looking like a full-time medical file. Oncology, blood work, scans, surgical consults, rinse and repeat. All while life around me became a hazy blur of telling my loved ones and watching them put on a brave face, shaving my head, and fearing the unknowns that are yet to come. And that internal struggle of being optimistic versus realistic, the numbness you feel because there's no time to let the shock set in before you're thrown into a whirlwind of appointments and treatments, all to hopefully save your life. Receiving a cancer diagnosis is never isolated to one person. It becomes a ripple effect. Everyone who loves you receives a part of that diagnosis too. I distinctly remember my doctor advising me, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And boy, was that an understatement. But also, that was probably the wrong analogy to use with me because I'm not the running type. I hate running so much that if you see me doing it, you should run too because I guarantee you I'm being chased. Maybe by a bear. I don't know. My treatment plan consisted of chemo, a mastectomy, radiation, then a deep flap reconstruction, rounded out with a preventative full hysterectomy, menopause at 33 years of age. And all of that was within an 18-month span. Cancer didn't just attack my body, it altered my identity, my certainty, my timelines, and my emotional safety. I felt I was not only fighting physically, but spiritually and emotionally. And as someone who is an eldest daughter and a Taurus, if you don't know what that means, I'm uber independent. Learning to accept help wasn't easy. Being told I couldn't do things doesn't sit well with my stubborn ass. When the treatment ends, people celebrate, and they should, but no one prepares you for what happens after, when the appointments slow down, and when everyone says, you did it, and they get to move on. Inside your mind, you're still wondering if the other shoe will drop. Because we go from a statistic from 1 in 8 to 1 in 3. And while the physical reality of how cancer has changed my body settled in, this is when the internal battle started to really show itself. Survivorship anxiety, PTSD, survivor's guilt, scanxiety, a lot of anxieties. The list goes on. Extreme lows and some choppy highs. And when you're in warrior mode long enough, you stop processing what's actually happening to you. You survive. You adapt. You compartmentalize. And eventually, the emotional bill comes due. You see, cancer may leave your body, but survivorship stays in your nervous system. And the emotional whiplash can look different for all of us. For me, it looked like many things. YOLO behavior, sometimes extreme, like jumping out of planes, swimming with sharks. There was a 3-month solo road trip through the western United States. Oh, and then there was hiking to a remote reservation in the depths of the Grand Canyon. But in all fairness, I was living La Vida Loca before cancer, so. And then there was therapy. So much therapy. Multiple forms, conventional and unconventional. All the while, I was searching for purpose, trying to figure out the difference between surviving and actually living. One of the hardest things I've had to learn is that healing and surviving are not the same thing. Being diagnosed at 31 brought challenges that I couldn't anticipate. Finding data or resources on Dr. Google that described this experience seemed non-existent. I wouldn't suggest Dr. Google for many things. See, these were the days before social media had such a broad outreach on life and our shared experiences. Sitting in the chemo room, noticing that while I was in there, surrounded by so many other warriors fighting their battles, I had a hard time being able to connect because no one looked like me. And when you're getting looks of pity from other cancer patients, it really does something to you. But the universe knew what I needed. And there was a day that a sweet nurse handed me a business card for my bald blog, a web page full of personal stories from a young warrior. Finally, someone I could relate to. Someone who got it. I went home and I read every entry, sometimes twice, and that's when I learned about the force of a woman named Jen Reynolds. Instantly, I became a fan. The realness and rawness of her words sent a wave of relief, almost as if I could finally exhale. I wasn't alone. The desperation I had been carrying to be seen and understood just cracked open, leaving me with an exposure that I knew I would have to deal with eventually. Now, mind you, this was 2015, in the beginning stages of my treatment. And in 2017, the universe started conspiring again. This time through my sister, who had just started establishing herself in this New Braunfels community. She called me one day telling me about this warrior who had started a nonprofit organization for breast cancer warriors like me, and she wanted to make an introduction. My jaw dropped when I heard it was Jen. I mean, what are the odds? And during this time, I was eyeball deep in working through my trauma. Saying the words, "I had cancer," was a struggle, that lump in your throat type of feeling. I wasn't ready to acknowledge it, much less immerse myself back in the throes of what had almost tried to kill me. And I left Jen's email on read. I never reached out. And the amount of regret that I hold for not jumping at that opportunity still sits with me. But thankfully, the universe really had its plans in motion. And as luck would have it, my chance to finally meet and connect with Jen came in the summer of 2019. You see, over those 2 years, I'd had enough therapy that I went from not saying the C word to now throwing my energy into sharing my story and trying my hand at motivational speeches. Therapy got expensive. And if I could get people to pay me, it would be offset. So knowing that, my sister helped me score a gig. I was graciously asked to speak at the New Braunfels Women's Chamber of Commerce. And little did I know that she had actually told Jen about how she had inspired me to start telling my story and invited her to come and listen, and she did. And the fact that it was random and not planned was for the best, because I fangirled. Doesn't look like it there, but I fangirled. All those years of holding on to her words and her vulnerability that had given me hope during the toughest part of my life and beyond. I wasn't about to miss out on this chance to have a meaningful connection with someone that deep inside knew this part of my journey. And that connection changed my trajectory. Jen is the example of someone who turned pain into service and community. And if you knew Jen, you knew that was one of her superpowers, was a way of making people feel seen almost immediately. Not fixed, not pitied, seen. And that matters more than most people realize. So instantly, our energy synced up, and we knew we had to create something together for our community of sisters. For years, as I had worked through my survivor's guilt, I kept asking myself questions like, why was I spared? I kept searching for giant purpose and some massive signs. And eventually I realized maybe purpose doesn't arrive all at once. Maybe purpose is built slowly through people, through experiences. And that's what Jen built with Pink Warrior Advocates. She embodied it, not just through her mission, but through the people and this community that is larger than life. While the vision she carried for this organization was multifaceted, care kits, bra assistance with Ana Ono, the nipple restoration program with Perky, monthly financial aid, and the Meta-Wish program, she knew at the end of the day, we needed support. Support from each other, the kind that only those who experience this sisterhood could understand. We spent weeks brainstorming together. How do we build a support group without calling it a support group? How do we create hype? We wanted to find ways to build our community up at least once a month. Something to look forward to. We were comparing it to when we were younger, and when you would look forward to that night of TGIF, where you got to watch Urkel and the dinosaurs and Step by Step, all the good ones, right? And that's how TV Thursday was born. That TV part stands for Trust and Vulnerability Through Cancer. It was about connections. It was about rawness. It was about giving people a place where they didn't have to explain themselves. A place where scars didn't need introductions, where fear didn't have to be hidden, where people could exhale, scream, cuss, laugh, cry, pretty much all in the same night. As sisters, we could talk about things like losing your hair during treatment, or going flat versus reconstruction, or sex after cancer, or the hell of hot flashes. Listen, we didn't know or care really how many people showed up, as long as we helped one person feel less alone. We often joked that maybe selfishly we were probably just doing it for us, to give us the release of venting and bitching about what we went through. But little did we know the impact that we were creating. That first meeting, we had 5 warriors, including us. And of course, our biggest cheerleaders, our family, for moral support. We didn't have a script. It was just us sitting as sisters and talking. It was the night I first met some amazing women like Ellie and April and Crystal with a K. It was the first time I sat with other women just like me and heard their stories, felt their emotions, and cried together. At the end of that night, Jen and I walked outside to the most beautiful lightning storm. It's like in Fantasia. And we just looked at each other and took a deep breath and stood there in awe. And we knew something powerful was brewing. This was just before COVID hit. And then boom, the world got turned upside down. So we had to pivot. We tried Zoom calls, podcasting. Shout out to anyone who's listened to all 4 episodes. Yep. Look it up, Finding Our Breast Selves. Amateur. We were amateurs. There was curbside dance parties, but nothing could keep us from fighting for our community. Community doesn't always save us through grand gestures. Sometimes it saves us through consistency. A text message, a shared meal, a Thursday night, someone saying, "I'm here." In 2022, in Jen's honor, we were able to bring back TV Thursday, and it's as if the momentum never left. The room may have changed, but the connection was energy. It was cosmic. The shared voices, shared experiences, the hugs, it amplified it all. To the point of adding a co-survivor element, and eventually the special spin-offs for the newly diagnosed and the Here For You are for our stage 4 warriors. This is what our girl envisioned. This was something that, even if events like this gala couldn't keep going, TV Thursday could live on and create an impact that rippled through our community. The need for community. It's one of the most meaningful things that Jen and I helped create together. And being labeled as a founding father has been the honor of a lifetime. I love you. Being a part of this sisterhood forced me to learn so much about myself, but even more about our human experience. And in that, I've become a student of life. This disease could have taken me, but it ended up giving me a sparked desire for not just living, but living. The kind where you don't worry about the past or the future, and you appreciate the present because that is truly a gift. Cancer slowed me down enough to notice life again. Sunrises, silence, road trips, conversations that actually mattered, less bullshit and more real. The way healing sometimes looks like sitting outside and finally just taking a deep breath. It showed me how special each encounter with someone is and everything that had to happen for this moment to exist. And it taught me something that I wish more people understood. We live in a society of unhealed wounds, because trauma comes in various forms, not just cancer, divorce, rejection, loss, grief. And some of these scars we carry forward with us from childhood and deepen them as life hands us difficult seasons. You never really know what someone is carrying. The strongest looking person in the room may be fighting just to keep themselves together. And the funniest person may be masking fear. Or the person who seems distant may simply be exhausted just from surviving. And because of that, kindness matters more than we realize. We spend so much of life trying to appear strong, and we're taught that being vulnerable is a weakness. That's a form of weakness. But true healing actually begins when we allow ourselves to be seen. Compassion matters. Human connection matters more than perfection. And above all, love heals. So our ability to lay down the armor is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of courage. It's what brings us closer to the table of grace and acceptance. Our journeys may all look different, but the path is sprinkled with souls along the way that are put there to share a piece of the struggles with. Because we're all heading towards this destination of the unknown. And I learned recently that the journey is the destination. The moments of heartbreak and heart joy, the experience of loving so intensely that we get the honor of carrying it forward with us even after they've physically left us for their next adventure. In the words of the deeply soulful Maya Angelou, people will forget what you said, people may forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So 11 years ago, my life changed. And if I could go back and talk to that terrified 31-year-old version of myself, sitting in shock after that phone call, I would tell her this: you are going to survive. You are going to laugh again, dance again, dream again. You're going to be handed a lifeline that wasn't just a blog. It was a legacy in the making that touches you in such a way that it frees you to use not just your voice, but it inspires you to free your spirit for the rest of your life. And you're going to discover that community can carry people through unimaginable pain. You're going to meet people who become family, but more importantly, you're going to learn how deeply human beings can love each other. And one day, you are going to get the honor of speaking to and with a room full of warriors and realize you are never fighting alone. I feel they're going to give me the signal to wrap this up. Pretty sure I've gone past my time, so I'm sorry about the interpretive dance. Maybe later. But I'd like to take this moment and invite my sisters, my breasties, my warriors to come join me on the stage. Bring them on up. Louder. Yeah. Get up here. Come on. Yeah. So for 10 years, Pink Warrior Advocates has been doing something extraordinary. Not just raising awareness, not just raising money. They've been raising people, holding people, walking beside people, helping families survive impossible seasons. And in a world that feels increasingly disconnected, that kind of community is sacred. My hope tonight is that every person in this room leaves remembering this. None of us are promised easy lives or even tomorrow, but we can promise each other something special, that no one has to suffer alone. Tonight, I feel it's only fitting that I leave you with Jen's words from her last entry from my bald blog. Take just 1 second, this moment, to simply be thankful, not for anything other than this moment. What can you do with this moment to make the next one better? That is magically inspiring, and to me, it's worth its weight in gold. This is the legacy Jen dreamed of for Pink Warrior Advocates, and honestly, that is the legacy we can all dream of. Thank you for loving people through some of their hardest moments of their lives, and thank you for allowing me to share mine tonight. I love you. Oh.
You gotta turn around.
Come on, turn
Yeah.
around.
Put them up. Put So good. So proud of you.
I think